Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished the finale of The Boys Season 2. And let's just say, if there's one thing this show knows how to do well, it's how to go out with a bang. And rightfully so, considering that there are many bangs to be had in this unbelievably brutal finale to The Boys. So basically, after Ryan was taken away from Becca by Stormfront and Homelander, the two corrupt superheroes try to essentially have the boy learn how to be in their own image. They take him to a Vought restaurant called Planet Vought, which sort of makes me think it's just Planet Hollywood just with superheroes. And unfortunately, the boy doesn't take too well to that place with that many people. So they take him to a log cabin in seemingly the middle of nowhere so they can train Ryan on how to use laser eyes. That comes in handy a bit later. Also, Becca happens to run over to Homelander, happens to run over to Butcher, since thankfully he told her the place where he's at earlier in the season, and thankfully A-Train, since he's had enough of Stormfront, actually steals data from the Church of the Collective to use it against her by essentially helping Huey and Starlight show the entire world that Stormfront's a Nazi. With her reputation completely in ruins, Stormfront attacks the boys while they're in the middle of their mission to rescue Ryan. And what results is a really awesome fight scene between Kimiko, Starlight, and Queen Maeve as they all get to beat the crap out of Stormfront. And this was after Queen Maeve said she's done with helping Starlight after she saved her life, considering she just was so done with everything. Considering the amount of debauchery that Maeve was going through, I actually kind of thought that she wouldn't help out. But Maeve's more of a hero than most of the heroes, so thankfully she did help, and it was awesome to see these three ladies stomp a mud hole in Stormfront. You could It's a lot different than the way the boys fought Stormfront in the comic, but it still includes a lot of the essentials when it comes to seeing this despicable character get her just desserts. But that's not before Stormfront tries to go after Becca, Butcher, and Ryan, and while she's got Becca in a chokehold, Ryan ends up finally finding someone that he hates, and he ends up lasering not only Stormfront, but also Becca. So, yeah, technically Ryan is responsible for his mother's death, which, granted, Becca was killed by her own child in the comics too, but this one's definitely a lot. I think this one did it a lot better, considering her death in the comics seemed like it was just there to motivate Butcher, like her character just revolved around him and nothing else, and we didn't know the baby in the comics that well anyways. All that we knew was that someone did something unforgivable to her, and therefore that caused Butcher to hate superheroes. Here we've gotten to know Ryan quite well through the second season, and it's legitimately pretty heartbreaking in a when in a last-ditch attempt to save his mom, he ends up screwing up, which makes sense. It's the first time he's using this power, and he doesn't know how to control it completely. And it shows that, and it really does show that there's no way every single time to save every single person around you. Granted, he was able to finally take down Stormfront, and much deserved, but he ended up hurting his own mother in the process, and that's gotta hurt on him. And honestly, Homelander would have been able to take him back after he takes out an entire platoon of Vought security forces, if it wasn't for Maeve essentially saying that if you do that, I'm going to show the world you're a monster too. So of course Homelander stands down, and Vought blames the entire incident of every horrible thing that happened over the course of this episode, and including the supposed terrorist attack that happened in the last episode. Vought blames the entire thing on Stormfront, which I guess that makes sense considering she's kind of as good as dead at this point. And Vought has to keep up their good image somehow. And since Stormfront's out of the picture, that means A-Train can actually go back into the Seven. but not deep. Considering how much of a joke the Deep has been, and considering how I figured he'd go back to being a scumbag if he ever got back into the Seven, it's pretty clear that he got what he deserved here. He's back to square one, and I'm guessing he's not going to get back into the Seven in season 3 either. But the biggest surprise actually comes right at the end, after Victoria Newman ends up being the leader of a new branch of government to look after soup affairs. We find out that she's the one responsible for everyone's head exploding throughout the season, as she ends up killing Alistair. So Victoria's a soup as well. I wonder what that leads into for this next season, whenever that comes out. So yeah, that's The Boys season 2. It was every bit as violent, every bit as enjoyable, and every bit as hard hitting with its social commentary as the first season. I'd argue even more so. It does have a couple of problems here and there, and I do think there are certain flashbacks that either go on a bit too long or don't add to much. But I do think it's overall a solid second effort in what's routinely been one of my favorite TV series in recent years. That's why I'm going to give The Boys Season 2 a 9.5 out of 10. See you next time.